What's up, guys? I have another pen video for you today. And today, this is on a Pelikan pen, as you can tell from the box. This is actually my first Pelikan, or Pelikan, however you want to pronounce it. It's actually my first Pelikan pen. I am very happy that my friend convinced me to buy this pen. This is Pelikan's new boxing. Well, might as well show you. This is... Oh, focus. There we go. An M600 in black. This is Pelikan's new boxing. It has like a fox wood type base. It's actually cardboard with like a wooden looking sticker over it. And then the pen itself is actually it's actually a pretty nice leatherette white sleeve with a fake wax seal on here, which I mean, I don't know. It looks kind of cheesy, obviously because it's not a real wax seal or anything. But as a presentation, as a gift box, I guess it's a pretty nice gift box. On the bottom here is, all of this is leatherette material, and then you have your booklets and whatnot here. I'm not gonna really go through all that. But, that's what you get with a pen when you get it with this new box. I know a lot of pens, like a lot of Pelikan pens and stuff, a lot of sellers won't necessarily sell them with the boxes. Like, you have to sometimes pay extra for the gift boxing options. And that's because when pen manufacturers actually ship pens out to their dealers, a lot of times they're actually shipped in, like, blister packs. And they get a lot less boxes than they do pens, just specifically, I guess, to save on shipping, because, shipping a whole gift box thing does cost more versus if you were to just ship pens in, like, blister pack forms. And I haven't seen this firsthand myself. All the pens that I've bought new have come with boxes, but from what my friend told me, like, if you were to go to, like, a Mont Blanc boutique or something, you might just end up getting a pen just popped out of, like, a blister pack. I don't know if it's true. That's just what I've heard. I've never gone to a Mont Blanc boutique and bought a pen yet, so I can't really say for sure. And like I said, I've bought all my new pens with the boxes. Here is another Pelikan box. I got this pen second. I've already ripped it, but this is Pelikan's old style packaging, I suppose you could say. It's the less fancy packaging where you have a simple cardboard box. A booklet here, which I think belongs in here, and then it's like a vinyl covering, and it's like a clamshell like so. I don't have a pen in here, but that's because I have the pen currently in my pen case. But this was the old style gift boxing. In all honesty, I actually kind of prefer this box over the new box. The new box is just a little bit over the top, and for me, my pens that I buy are not collectibles. They're not Safe Queens or anything. They're all users. So I normally would just throw away packaging. I kept this box because it's nice and I can use it in the future. I don't know when, but it's the options there. I guess I could travel with my pen in this leather case, to kind of protect it and whatnot. If I don't have room in my pen case or something. I like this type of box because you do have channels here where you can fit like multiple pens in here and basically store them or carry with them when you travel. Throw them in your suitcase or something. Anyway, here's the pen. Let me just get all of this packaging off of here. Here's the pen. It's an M600 in black, in a fine nib. When I went to buy this pen, I was actually not planning on buying this coloration. I actually wanted to get the green stripe M600 because I felt that looked really nice. It looked like very classic Pelikan design. But when I got there, my friend went to the pen store with me and he kind of convinced me like, oh, you don't have a gold and black pen yet. So I was like, all right, yeah, you're right. Let me just buy this. I actually ended up getting a green stripe pen anyway, and that's what was in the other older style Pelikan case. And here we go, a green stripe with a sterling silver cap that's gold plated. This is the M650 model. Basically how Pelican designates their pens by numbers is the higher the number, the larger the pen. So most common is like the M200, which is a kind of a smaller size pen. It's not as long. It's a little slimmer. And that one comes with a gold-plated steel nib. Then you go to the M400, which is the same size as the M200, except the body is different, and then they swap out the steel nib for a 14-karat nib. Then you have the M600, which also standard comes with a 14-karat nib. You can get 18-karat nibs on them, although they are getting more difficult to find. The M650 did come with an 18-karat nib. The next size up from here is M800, which, it's obviously longer, thicker, and it's also heavier because instead of having plastic hardware, like instead of having plastic in here for the piston, they actually have brass. And then there's the M1000, their flagship pen, which is like the biggest pen that they make, and also is also heavier. And then in between you have various different sizes, like you have M700s, which I think are the size of M600s, but I'm not 100% sure. And then from there on, the numbers after the first digit designate different colorations in terms of hardware and stuff. Like if you were to get an M605, instead of having gold, it would be silver hardware, silver plating. I'm not sure if it's platinum plating or not, but it is silver in coloration. Anything with the 50 designation is the sterling silver cap with the gold plating. So if you were to get an M1050, it would be an M1000 size pen, but with a sterling silver gold plated cap. So, like I said, this black one I got first. Both of these are not new out of box. This isn't a first impression. Both of these are inked up. In the black one I have inked up with Noodler's 54th Massachusetts, and in the green stripe one I have inked up with Iroshizuku Tsukio. I really like the M600 size compared to the M800. The M800 is a more expensive pen, and when you go on pen forums, a lot of times when people ask, I'm looking into buying a nice pen, what do you recommend? A lot of people always go with M800 and M1000 size pens. Personally, I don't think it's for me. When I went to the pen store, I had the option of holding an M800. I didn't bother with the M1000. It is super expensive, but the M800 in terms of the length and girth was okay, but because of the brass in the back end for the piston, I felt it was a little too back heavy for me. So for me, the M600 is kind of like a perfect size pen. I handled my friend's M200, and I could write with it, but it's not something that I would want to write with for a long period of time, at least comfortably. The length isn't as big of an issue because, I could always just post the cap onto the back of the pen, but the actual diameter of the section was a little too slim. Pretty comparable to like a TWSBI mini section, so not the worst. For short notes and jotting and whatnot, it's okay. But for long extended like journaling, like if I'm gonna have to write with a pen for 20 minutes or more, it's definitely not as comfortable as something like an M600 size pen. So that's why I decided to go with this. It wasn't necessarily just the money issue. I actually happened to get this at a very, very good price, so that made me happy. This one, not so much. The M650 is discontinued. I believe all the 50 line, like they made a 450, and I know there's a 1050. I'm not sure if there was an 850. I'm pretty sure there's an 850 as well. I think all of these are discontinued. You can actually tell by the top cap that I believe in 2003, Pelican started going with a metal gold-plated pen cap versus on the older style where it was like a black plastic with, gold Pelican logo. I believe this style is the direct style before they went with the all-metal cap. Some of the older ones, if you actually look here, I'm not sure if you can make it out, they're actually two lines poking out from the water that pelicans are sitting. I think it indicates like baby pelicans. I think if you go even older, it's actually just one. But this is discontinued, so I did pay a premium for it, over $400. You can still find them like new old stock. And if you definitely like this look, which I really, really liked, I definitely like the gold stripes with the gold cap. You might want to pick them up because they're no longer being made. And the prices for them will only go up. Especially in the past few years, Pelican has started really bumping up the prices on all their pens. And it's gotten to the point where it's like I kind of wish I got back into fountain pens and had the money 6 years ago, because I would have paid easily like $100 less for both of these pens. But what can you do, right? It's kind of the same thing. Like, if anyone knows anything about the knife world, back when I was in high school, I wanted to get a Benchmade 42, a BM42, which is their butterfly knife with the milled out titanium handles. Back then it was $125, you could get it brand new. Now, even buying one used, they're like $400 because they got discontinued and the prices of them just went super high. But anyway, I digress. I decided when I almost got a green stripe M400 just because I wanted a green stripe pen. But my friend convinced me otherwise, and then I ended up getting this pen, which kind of works out because both of these are M600 sized. I can actually Lego parts together. So, obviously for me, like, in terms of value, this is probably the most valuable part of the M650 minus the 18 karat gold nib. So I don't really necessarily want to carry this on an everyday basis in case the plating starts brassing or whatever. But if I do want to just carry the pen with the gold stripes, I can always swap out. I can always swap out the caps, which I know my friend says is like bastardization of the pens, but for me, this is more of a practical standpoint, and this is what like the standard M600 in gold stripe would look like with the black cap, and then I can always Lego the gold cap onto the black pen, which I think also looks nice. The black pen, all black pen for me, kind of looks a little too fancy and formal for everyday use, but I have been using this every day since I've gotten it, and I've been carrying it every day, so I've kind of gotten used to it. It's a nice pen overall to write with. In terms of buying, oops, got a little sweat on there. In terms of buying older pens like the M650, you do have to be careful. The M650 was made to come with an 18 karat gold nib, but because those nibs, that nib size isn't being made anymore, I believe the only 18 karat gold nibs that Pelican makes now is for the M800 and the M1000s, and those have a larger nib. The screws, I think the screw sizes are the same, but the nib is larger, so it won't necessarily fit inside the cap when you screw the cap on. And when you buy this pen, I've actually seen some sellers do nib swaps on them, either because, like, let's say you want a fine nib and they only have mediums or broads with 18 karat, they'll swap out to a 14 karat M600 fine nib for you, but you are losing out in money. Another option is maybe sellers want to give you a better price. If you were to get a 14 karat nib, they might drop the price down like $50, because if you go on to, say, Marsha's site, nibs.com, and he does offer the M650 nibs for sale, there's an increase in terms of pricing between the 14 karat and this 18 karat gold nib of I believe $75. So you do want to be careful with that. I've seen on eBay some of the M650s going for a much cheaper price than what the standard is. The standard right now is around $400, and that's because they've done nib swaps to 14 karat. So you may want to contact the sellers and double check and make sure. When I bought this pen, I emailed him just to make sure that I was going to be getting an 18 karat nib, because part of it is getting this cap as well, but another part is getting the 18 karat nib, and I'm definitely not going to pay that much just to lose that on that aspect. Another thing that's nice about getting two pens of the same size is that I can always do nib swaps if I want. The only thing is, in this case, both nibs I got were fine nibs, but because this is actually a newer nib, I don't remember exactly when, but I think in a little bit after 2000, they actually changed the tipping on the nibs to a more round ball nib. So, actually, let me get some paper out. Got my everyday notebook here. Let me just go to a clean page to write on. So right now with the new nibs, let's say this is the nib, like that. You normally have a tipping material on top of the gold. It's not actually the gold that you're writing with, but it's the tipping material. And it's more of a ball now. Versus with the older Pelican nibs, what happened was it was actually much sharper. So you would have your nib like that. And then there's a tipping material, but it's more triangular and pointed. What that makes for is that with the rounder nib, you actually have a much larger sweet spot. You know, you can actually, when it starts writing, you actually rotate this quite a bit, and the pen will still write. Versus with the sharper tip, the sweet spot's a lot smaller, and then, you know, well, in this case, it still writes pretty well. But people especially will find that when you go to the larger size nibs, with the older nibs, it looks more stubbish. It looks a little, you know, you get more line variation because of it, versus with the ball, it's just the line that it writes is completely even in both cases. Both these nibs write really well. They write very wet. Let me just demonstrate here. You know, if I just do a line like this, and I just wait a little bit, you see the ink still smears. They're the wettest pens that I've ever written with in terms of the pens I've owned. I definitely don't think that they're the wettest writing pens in the world. Actually, no, that's not true. I think maybe my Parker 21 in medium writes a lot wetter than these pens. Unfortunately, I don't have it inked, so I can't really demonstrate it. But you know, if you wait a little bit, it smears. You see it on my fingers. They write really wet, so you do want to be careful what kind of paper you're using it on. If you use something like less absorbent paper like Clairefontaine, like I am in this case, there is significant dry time to it, especially depending on the ink. Both these inks aren't the quickest drying inks in the world, so you do want to be careful about smearing. At the same time, if you're using cheaper paper where it's very where it absorbs ink a lot, I'm losing my words here. You know, the letters will feather out if you use really crappy paper, and if they don't feather out, the line will definitely become a lot broader. And that's why you actually see, like, with this notebook, because it is very slick paper and ink tends to sit on the surface, I do carry a small piece of blotting paper in the notebook, partially to use as a bookmark, and another part so, you know, when I write something down, I could just close the book onto the blotting paper, and it won't smear the writing all over the place. This nib came perfect. When you know, it writes smooth with just the slightest hint of feedback. It's actually perfect. You know, I actually prefer it like this. You know, I mean, I like pens that write buttery smooth as well. But this, when you're writing, when you're like speed writing, it's nice. It gives you feedback, so you kind of don't just glide all over the place when you're writing. At the same time, this pen, actually, the nib, the tines were very, very misaligned, actually. I'm actually a little disappointed that I didn't see it and notice it when I was in store, but I was so excited to buy the pen, I just didn't really care. And it was misaligned to the point where, like, I had to rotate the nib maybe this much in order for it to write smoothly. It did write smoothly, but because the tines weren't both touching the paper, it was a little scratchy. But I went ahead and just bent the tines myself and fixed that problem. With Pelican pens, when you buy them new from an authorized dealer, I believe you have 30 days to send them back to Pelican, and they can always do a nib swap for you. So let's say you buy a medium nib and then you find it's a little too broad for you and you want to go to like an extra fine or a fine, you can send it to your region's distributor and they'll do a nib swap for you free of charge. In the US case, I believe the distributor is ChartPack, and I'm pretty sure from what I've heard, they're pretty good with customer service. They'll get the pen back to you relatively quickly. The only thing is they don't do quality checks from what I hear, and in general, I don't think Pelican has the best nib quality control. A lot of complaints you hear, especially with the extra fine nibs, is that they come scratchy or the tines are misaligned. And actually in this case, not only are the tines misaligned, but the tipping material, the ball tipping material, is actually very unevenly ground, and one side has a lot more tipping material than the other. I am considering, you know, since both of these are fine nibs and I can interchange them, that I may actually send this pen out with the 14 karat nib to Mike Masayama and have him grind it down to like an extra fine point. 'Cause it's still, because of how wet it writes, it still does write a little too broad for my handwriting. My handwriting isn't the largest handwriting in the world. But yeah, these pens, my favorite. It's a good size, it's a good weight. For me, I prefer lightweight pens anyway. Writing performance is decent. I do like, the wetness of the nibs. I definitely believe that if you can find these pens for a good price, brand new, they're definitely worth buying. And they should last forever. Both of these pens are piston-filled pens. But because you could take the nib section out just by unscrewing it without the need of special tools like you do with Mont Blanc pens, it's very easy to flush out and maintain. If you need to add some silicone grease to the piston, you just unscrew the nib and with a toothpick just kind of spread silicone grease around the piston to smooth it out. And Pelican themselves, they have great customer service and a really good warranty if you actually look through the card. I haven't really heard people complain about Pelican's customer service other than the fact that maybe their nib quality control from the factory isn't exactly the greatest in the world. But, in my mind, something like scratchiness, how smooth the nib is, it's a lot to do with personal preferences. So you should always consider maybe adding an additional $20 to $30 and just sending your pen to a reputable nibmeister to have smooth it out and reground to whatever it is exactly that you want. And if you believe you're doing that, then I would definitely suggest getting a pen with a broader nib, because you can always go down. I mean, you can always go up in size, in line width, but it is a little more difficult. It is more it costs more because the nibmeister will have to retip the nib for you in order to grind it back down to what you want. So actually, when I was going to buy the 650, I was actually considering getting a medium nib, and then maybe I was like, oh, if I don't like it, if it's too broad for me, then I'll just have it ground down. But my friend told me the medium nib writes quite broad for a medium nib, so I decided, I might as well just get a fine, and I would actually prefer to go even finer than fine. And the only reason why I didn't go outright with an extra fine nib is because I hear the quality control on the extra fines are actually the worst for Pelicans. So I just went ahead and got 2 fines. No regrets. I do wish, I could have paid a little less for the M650. The M600 I got a great price on. Under 300, I'm not going to give an exact price, but I paid under 300 for it, which is great, because standard treat price for this right now is like $365, I think, if you get it from someone like Richard Binder. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my review of these 2 pens. Initially I was going to do separate videos for them, but I figured they're practically the same pen. Might as well just do a video for both of them at the same time. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. These are definitely my favorite 2 pens right now, and I kind of feel, much to the disgust of my wallet, that I'm going to end up getting like a whole flock of Pelican pens in the M600 size. Like, at first I didn't really like the blue one, but now the blue stripe is kind of calling out to me a little bit. And then they have some of the special limited edition colorations that look pretty good. So it's become kind of a habit, like an addiction for me with these pens. And every time I pull this pen out, I kind of forget what I have to write, because I just kind of like stare at like the gold cap and everything. It just looks so good. It looks so beautiful. But that, it's a personal opinion for me. Some people actually don't. Oh shoot! I just noticed my cap's a little dented. How the hell did that happen? Well, that sucks. It's not really that noticeable, but I just noticed like in the light right here, right at this. Yeah, it's a very slight dent. Aw, man. Oh well, I might as well just start using this pen as a user pen. It's already beaten up a little bit. I'm not so much worried about like micro scratches or like dings in the pen. Like, it's just naturally gonna happen. I'm actually more just concerned about the gold plating rubbing off. So yeah, this video is getting pretty long. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully if you ever go out and buy one of these higher end Pelican pens, that you really enjoy them as much as I have. And thanks for watching.